to Study Time, a televised home learning program produced by Rwanda Education Board.
Hello students, hope you're doing well. I'm Callixte, math teacher. Today we are going to learn together mathematics for senior 3. And we are going to continue on unit number 6, as you can see, which is linear and quadratic functions. But remember, we are still dealing with the linear functions. As you can read here, we have mathematics for senior 3, unit 6, linear and quadratic functions, as I've said. Our lesson is number 3. We are going to learn what is x-intercept and what is y-intercept. And I hope at the end of this lesson, I want every one of you to be able to find x-intercept and y-intercept. And remember, you don't have to forget how to find the gradient of any equation. Now, let's go. You remember, I have given you a form of linear equation. But there is also something that I want you to know. Actually, when you are given a linear function, you may find it written in different forms. We have at least 3 forms of writing a linear equation. The first form, we call it slope-intercept form. We call it slope-intercept form. How do we write equation in slope-intercept form? You are seeing there are 2 terms. We have slope and also we have intercept. It means it's an equation which is written in a way that you can see a slope from it and also intercept. When you have y, which is equal to mx plus b, this is a form of a slope-intercept form of an equation, of course, which is a linear equation. We have the second way you can write a linear equation. The second way, it's called we call it point-intercept form, or point-intercept form means also you need to look at the point and also at the intercept. Point-intercept form. Point-intercept form. How do we write this? Look at it. We have y minus y1 equals m. This is gradient. I think you remember this. X minus x1. This is the form which is called the point-intercept form. You see? We call it point because this one is coming from a point. It's a coordinate of a point. And also this one, actually, it's a coordinate of a point. We have x1 and also y1. That's why we call it point-intercept form. There is the third form. The third form is actually called the general form. The general form. How do we write the general form of a linear equation? We write it like this. Ax plus by plus c equals 0. This is the general form. But in many different books, you will always see people giving a form of a linear equation like this. And as you remember, when we were introducing this, actually we gave you this example of a linear equation because it gives us all the coordinates or all the characteristics of what is a linear equation. As you remember, when you are given y equals mx plus b, I want you to remember this. We have what we call gradient. This is gradient. And remember, this is dependent variable. I want you to remember this. And this one, we call it independent variable. independent variable, and of course, we call this one as y-intercept. And as you can see, remember our focus of today is to know how to find x-intercept and the y-intercept. It's very easy to find y-intercept because when you are given an example, I'm going to give you an example. Given, for example, 2x plus 3 equals y, and you are told to find y-intercept, x-intercept, and of course, and gradient. We are going to do this question together, and then you will see how to find y-intercept, how to find x-intercept, and of course, how to find gradient. From this equation, as you can see it over here, and I want you also to remember something, we have what you call linear function and linear equation. When you are given a form like this one, we actually call it linear function. But in the case we put the values of m and b, we will call it linear function, linear equation, like this one. This is an example of a linear equation. But it's not written in this form. We need, first of all, to write it in this form, and from there, we can be able to find y-intercept and x-intercept. Simple. Let's do it together. Solution. If you are given 2x plus 3 equals y, of course, this one is not written in a form which we have over here. So we are going to write this equation in that form. And from there, we will be able to show what is y-intercept. And also from there, I will teach you how to find x-intercept. But there is also something that I want to talk about before we finish this question. You may ask yourself, y-intercept, what is that? Or x-intercept, what is that? At the end of this question, you will be able to see it. Just on a graph, it becomes very easy. Let's do this together. I'm going to write it at this form, mx plus b. Of course, this one, it will be y, I keep it over here, and I want to take this whole one on the other side. That will be, of course, y, which is equal to 2x plus 3. Do you see? Now it's written like this. What is the gradient? What is the y-intercept? What's that? As you can see, this one is called y-intercept. Actually, when you are given a linear equation, you immediately see how it is given. You just get it. You just find it. It means y-intercept is this value we have over here. It means y-intercept is equal to y-intercept is 3. 3 is the y-intercept. Now, when you are on a graph, I will show you, y-intercept means it's where a line is cutting the y-axis. We will see it on the graph. Let's learn how to find x-intercept. How do we find x-intercept? How do we find x-intercept? How do we find x-intercept? X-intercept. We have an example. we have y equals 2x plus 3. And remember, we have already finished to find y-intercept, which is, of course, equals 3. So we are going to find together x-intercept. I want to give you a hint. When you are looking for x-intercept, you have to put 0 in the place of y. It means I will replace y by 0. When I put 0 over here, it will be 0 equals 2x plus 3. And from here, I can find the value of x. Of course, I have 2x plus 3 equals 0. And 2x will be equal to 0 minus 3. And I will have 2x equals negative 3. And I divide 2 on both sides. And I get x equals to negative 3 over 2. This is x-intercept. This is x-intercept. Do you see? Very easy. When you are looking for x-intercept, you put 0 in the place of y, and then you solve the remaining equation. Or you find the value of x. When you look at this, this is what we call x-intercept, which is equal to negative 3 over 2. And remember, our y-intercept was 3. We are going to draw this on a graph and see what it gives. I told you, whenever you are drawing equation, you need to use a graph paper. Do you see this? This is the graph paper that we are going to use. You may not find the graph paper of this form, but it's easy. You can use any other one. You can even use your exercise notebook, of course, which is squared. Let's try and do it together. Yes, this is the graph paper we are going to use. Okay? Now, remember when you are drawing, you need to have x-axis and y-axis. Let's make it. This is y-axis. This is x-axis. This is x, and this is y-axis. How do we find the coordinates of the point? There is something I told you last time. When you are drawing a line, you only need to have 2 points. 2 points are enough for you to draw a line. You can look for many different points, but at least the 2 points are enough for you. Let's find together the points that will help us to draw that line. Remember, we use a table. If I have this x and y, let's say x is equal to 0. Look at this. Put 0 over here. What do you get? How y will be equal? If I have y which is equal to 2x plus 3, then let me put 0 here. 0 times 2, it will be equal to 0. Then plus 3, I will remain with 3, which means y will be equal to 3. So if x is equal to 0, y will be equal to 3. Let's say y is, maybe x is equal to 1. If x is equal to 1, it will be 2 times 1 plus 3. We will get 2 times 1 equals 2 plus 3. And I get 5. You see, if x is equal to 1, y will be equal to 5. I told you 2 points are enough for us to draw a line. Let's go over here. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. Here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have negative 2, negative 3, negative 4. We have point number 1. Point number 1 is is having the coordinates 0 and 3. How can we show that point on our graph? We have 0 on x and 3 on y. Let me use a different color. We have this is point number 1, which is, you can even name them. You can say my point A is given by 0 and 3. And we have also another point. X is equal to 1, it's here, and the y is 5 over here. You see? This is point B, which is having 1 and 5 as the coordinates. We have now 2 points. We have point A and point B. When you draw, let's link these 2 points, and we find that line. You see? This is the line called y equals 2x plus 3. You remember, we were looking for the y-intercept and x-intercept. When you are looking for x-intercept, it's where a line is cutting x-axis. And we have said it is at negative 3 over 2. Then you can ask yourself, is it true? Is this line y cutting x-axis at the point negative 3 over 2? Just wonder. You can also ask yourself, is it true that this line cuts y-axis at point 3? I think you can observe it. As you can see, we have point 3 here. Look at this. We have y-intercept, which is equal to 3. This is where the line cuts y-axis from. It is here. This is y-intercept. Y-intercept. And as you can see over here, when we try to divide 3 divided by 2, I put here 1. 1 times 2, it is 2. I remain with 1. I put here 0, and 0, of course, I have to put 5 over here. This is equal to 10, is equal to 0, which means it is at negative 1.5. Do you see it? At negative 1.5. It was supposed to be here, negative 1.5 over here. And we can call it x-intercept. X-intercept. Have you seen this? Well, I think. Let me give you one other more example so that you can be sure of how to find x-intercept and y-intercept. When we do the second example, you will be able for sure to know how to find x-intercept and y-intercept. These are very important because they show us where a line is cutting y-axis and x-axis. The second example, example 2. Given 3x equals negative y. Do you see this? I want you to have a short time and you think about this question. We are looking for the gradient x-intercept, or we start with y-intercept, and of course with x-intercept. Solution. I want you to try it. Just to try it. Have your book and you try it. You have 3x equals negative y. But I want you also to remember something from here. You need to first write it in a form that you have y equals to mx plus b. Let's go together. We have 3x equals negative y. Our equation here is not given in this form, not in the form of y equals to mx plus b. We are going to write it in this form. How? You have, of course, negative y equals 3x, then plus 0. Because we don't have the value of b. As you can see here, we have y, we have m, we have x, but we don't have b, which means I put 0 in the place of b. Now, I don't want this sign to be here. I multiply negative 1 on both sides. Negative 1 on both sides. If I multiply negative 1 on both sides, here we'll get y equals negative 3x, then plus 0. And then you remain with y equals to negative x. This is our equation. If we try to see the gradient, what is the gradient from here? You just read. You look at the equation. You remember gradient is n. Here, our gradient is equal to negative 3. What is our y-intercept? As you remember, I told you when you are given, for example, mx plus b, this is y-intercept. You just come here and see. What is the value of b? It is 0. Our y-intercept is 0. We are going to find x-intercept. Can you remind me how to do so? Not to mean that I forgot. I want you to tell me if you've understood how to find x-intercept. Anyone can try? I think so. Remember, when you are looking for x-intercept, you just put 0 in the place of y, and you find the value of x. Simple. Let's try it together. You have y equals negative 3 times x. Let's put 0 over here. We remain with negative 3x. Let's find the value of x. How is equal x? X will be to 0 over negative 3, and x will be 0, because 0 over any number gives 0. You see? Now our x-intercept is 0. We are done with our question. We have to find the gradient. Gradient here is equal to 3, negative 3, as you can see. Of course, there is a negative sign over here, negative 3. And we have, it was supposed to be like this, And we have y-intercept. Y-intercept is 0, and we have x-intercept is equal to 0. Let's draw it together. When we draw it together, let's use this place over here. We are going to draw it together. So, let me say this is y-intercept, y-axis, and this is x-axis. I try to put some graduations because I don't have more graph paper. This is 1, this is 2, 3, 4. Just in case somebody doesn't have a graph paper, you can arrange yourself and make sure that you have this. Of course, some errors may appear, but there is no problem. You can see at least the free body diagram of it. We have here -2, -3, and -4. Let's look for x and y. Remember, we have y equals to -3x. How do we find this? If x is equal to 0, of course, y is also equal to 0. Do you see this? You just put 0 over here, and you remain with 0 times -3. That gives 0. Let's say x is equal to 1. We have 1 here times -3, and you get -3. Y will be equal to -3. Do you see this? I told you 2 points are enough for you to draw a line. Now, we have point number 1. Let me use a different color, green color, which I love, by the way. We have 0, 0. Because we have 0 on x and 0 on y. We have a 1 on x and a -3 on y. Let me try to figure out where it is located. It's over here. Do you see this? Now we have 2 points. We have point A and point B, which has 1 and -3 as coordinates. Let's join these 2 points. It's like this. You see? Our y-intercept was 0. You remember this. Very nice. Our y-intercept was 0, and it's here. That's where the line cuts the y-axis. And our x was also 0. Our x-intercept was also 0, which is also over here, where it cuts the x-axis. I have a homework for you. Here it is. We have a homework. In each of the following cases, you have to determine the gradient, the y-intercept, x-intercept, by writing the equation in the form y equals mx plus c. You don't have to forget how to sketch every single line you have over there. We have 5x equals to y. We have 2x plus 3y equals 5. We have 5 equals to 5x minus 2x. And lastly, we have 4x minus 2y plus 3 equals 0. There is 0 over here. The reference is in the book of mathematics for Rwandan schools, senior 3s. On page 90, you can get more exercises over there. Have you understood this? I'm very sure that you did. Thank you.